Next up on our agenda, we have Ms. Arianna Joseph. Arianna Joseph is a final year student pursuing her master's degree in coastal engineering and management at the University of West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago. With a bachelor's degree in geography and environmental and natural resource management, she has already showcased her commitment and expertise. And in 2019, Arianna worked with the Trinidad and Tobago Water and Sewerage Authority, contributing to the reduction of water pollution through statistical reporting. Recently appointed as an honorary game warden, she focuses on conserving hawksbill and leatherback turtles while promoting ecosystem protection for sustainable development. Arianna's passion lies in coastal protection, climate change adaptation, and ecosystem conservation. So please welcome Ms. Arianna Joseph.
Good morning, everyone. As previously indicated, my name is Ms. Arianna Joseph, and today I would be presenting or assessing the impacts of seagrass bed degradation and restoration on the nearshore hydrodynamics at the Bonaccord Lagoon. And this would be done by the use of a numerical modeling system. Green button here, right? Oh, in the middle. Okay. So I'm aware that we have some viewers online, and in order to draw context to the subject at hand, I would start off with three main definitions. The first being hydrodynamics, which is the science of flow and the forces that contribute to this flow, or the forces that impact this flow. Then we have wave attenuation, which is the loss of wave height due to bottom friction. And in this case, this bottom friction would be identified as the seagrass beds. Then we have wave dissipation, which is the total loss of energy due to bottom friction. And once again, this bottom friction would be the seagrass beds. So what is the problem at hand, or why is this topic of importance today? Well, recent evaluations have indicated that the seagrass beds population in Tobago at the Bonaccord Lagoon has the lowest biomass and the density, which was opposite to previous studies done by the Institute of Marine Affairs in 2002, which previously indicated that the Bonaccord Lagoon had the healthiest and most productive seagrass beds communities across Tobago. And this is mainly due to land-based pollution, coastal development, also due to destructive tourism practices and sargassum influxes, which influence the dieback of the seagrass beds. However, of these, the nutrient loading caused by the land-based pollution has contributed to eutrophication of the algae. This eutrophication basically blocks off the top of the water column, preventing light from being attenuated to help with seagrass growth. Also, we face the topic of sea level rise, as the sea levels are expected to rise to approximately 0.5 meters by 2050 and 1 meter by the end of the 21st century. As a result, today I would like to give a brief background on the Bonaccord Lagoon and the wave climate of the Bonaccord Lagoon, alongside some background on the seagrasses. Apart from that, that will be used to highlight the hydrodynamics of the Bonaccord Lagoon using a numerical modeling tool, alongside the impacts of wave attenuation and wave dissipation during and without sea level rise. So the Bonaccord Lagoon. The Bonaccord Lagoon is located between latitudes 11.08 to 11.12 degrees north, and longitudes 60.40 to 60.51 degrees west. The Bonaccord Lagoon, as seen in the picture, is an interrelated complex system, which means there is a flow of mangrove, seagrass, and coral beds. So the mangrove system is identified along the coastline. Then as you move seaward, there is the seagrass beds, and then the light blue area can be identified as the coral reefs known as the Bucca Reef. And here has the oldest brain coral in the world. So the Bonaccord Lagoon has an approximate area of 1.2 kilometers square, and of this 1.2 kilometers square, 0.5 kilometers has seagrass beds or contains seagrass beds. And of this 0.5 kilometers square, the Thalassia testudinum, also known as the turtle grass, comprises 80% of the total seagrasses within the Bonaccord Lagoon. And here I would give some background on the wave climate of the area. So the lagoon area has a depth which ranges from 1 meter to 6 meters, and it is influenced by wind-generated waves, as the area is also influenced by the northeasterly trade winds. The area also has a mean spring tide of approximately 0.78 meters and a mean neap tide of 0.4 meters. The area is also influenced by the North Brazil current, which contains a speed of 0.1 to 1.11 meters per second. Now I'll give some background on seagrass beds. So what are seagrass beds? Seagrass beds are flowering plants which have grass-like structures. They can be found in shallow waters and clean waters, or clear waters, sorry. They can also be found in intertidal zones with a depth of up to 90 meters. However, they are confined to shallower areas due to rapid light attenuation. Apart from that, they can be, in the tropics, they can be found in areas with temperatures above 25 degrees Celsius. Seagrass bed morphology. So seagrass beds contain veins, and these veins are able to transport nutrients and water around the plant leaves. However, they also contain roots, which are also known as rhizomes, which store the nutrients to then be transported around the plant at a later basis. The leaves also contain minute air pockets, which assist in leaf buoyancy and gaseous exchange. They can also be reproduced through colonial growth, which is asexually, and sexually through pollination. However, there are two main types of seagrasses. This is the small-bodied seagrass, which has as can be seen there, a short life expectancy, and they can be found lower within the water column. And this one example is the paddlegrass, and next the stargrass. And we have the large-bodied seagrasses, for example, the turtle grass, which can go or grow higher within the water column, and they have a longer life expectancy. So then we have to move on to the topic of seagrass beds and dissipation. However, in order to discuss this topic of seagrass beds and dissipation, we first have to highlight form drag. So form drag is basically the drag or force exerted on the water from the seagrass beds. When this force is applied to the water, it counterreacts with the forces already exerted from the water, which therefore encourages a reduction in kinetic energy. This reduction in kinetic energy can be viewed through reduced velocities. And one influence of this is chute density, or seagrass density, which basically means that as water flows over a larger span of seagrasses, this contributes to a reduction in the velocity. And as we see here, as it states, it generally increases the drag to impede the perpendicular flow. As it pertains to seagrass beds and wave attenuation, there are three characteristics of seagrass beds which influence wave attenuation. The first being the shoot density, which basically indicates that when more seagrasses are present or denser populations are present, then this would encourage the reduction in wave height as water passes over the seagrass beds compared to sparser populations. Then we have leaf length. So the leaves that are higher within the water column contribute to bottom friction, which therefore reduces the wave height compared to the seagrasses that are found lower within the water column. This means that as the water passes over the seagrass beds that are lower within the water column, those seagrass beds may not have any influence on the water that is passing over it compared to those higher within the water column. Then we have blade stiffness. So stiffer blades or stiffer seagrasses, when water passes over them, they basically resist the flow of water compared to flexible seagrasses that flow with the water. Although the flexible seagrasses also contribute to wave dissipation or wave attenuation, they do not have as strong as an impact on the wave compared to those of stiffer seagrass beds. So, right, so previously, a mathematical expression was shown which showed the dissipation of wave energy using formulas. However, with the technological era we live in right now, we do not have to use the mathematical equations for ourselves. We can now use modeling programs. And one such program is the Mike Zero program. So the Mike Zero program uses a hydrodynamic module to generate or output water levels and current conditions. And it also has the ability to use a spectral wave model to output wave heights and wave periods alongside wave velocities. And this image right here is the home page for the Mike Zero module, which can be used to generate these aspects. So for my presentation today, as I stated, I would be indicating or assessing the Bonaccord Lagoon. So the first step of assessing the Bonaccord Lagoon when it comes to Mike 0, is to highlight an area or specify an area. In order to specify this area, we first have to bring in or input the shoreline information. So this shoreline here is only indicating the area of the Bonaccord Lagoon. However, this image here contained the shorelines for both Trinidad and Tobago, but we have to include arcs and vertices in order to specify the area only of interest. Afterwards, this area was the input parameters, known as the bathymetry parameters, were included. And for example, in the red, you can see it stated that where the water depth is less than 8 meters, then you would see the area highlighted in red, which is around the Bonaccord Lagoon area as indicated before, which has a depth which ranges from 1 meter to approximately 6 meters. Here, the wave periods were inputted, and the blue lines indicate measured data which was done out at field, while the red lines are known as the model data. So this information was calibrated before we assessed the output. And this here is a line regression where the green line shows the measured data, while the purple dots can be shown to represent the model data. So this was used to identify whether or not the program can be used to predict seagrass wave and velocity influences due to seagrass beds. The same was done for wave heights, and this was done for the period 24th of May 2016 to the 30th of May 2016, where the model was also calibrated to show that the measured data does match with the model data before we continue running the program. So the model included something called the Manning's number. The Manning's number is a number which is used to highlight bottom friction when it comes to the seagrass beds. However, Mike just included a program to highlight the vegetation, but that program has not been utilized or explored as yet because it's very new. So based on model calibration and validation, particular conclusions were able to be drawn. So the first being, well, we could skip along. The first being that seagrass beds, when seagrass beds are degraded, this encourages wave dissipation. When it is degraded, it reduces the amount of waves being dissipated, and it reduces the amount of waves being attenuated. As a result, we would remain with higher velocities, and we would also remain with high wave heights. Also, where there is sea level rise, well, the sea level rise scenarios will put it into the system, and a general consensus was that where there's sea level rise and degradation of the seagrasses, this would influence coastal run-up, wave run-up, which would therefore encroach the area along the Bonaccord Lagoon. And this is of particular importance because, as shown here, Tobago only has approximately a surface area of 300 kilometers square, while Trinidad has a surface area of approximately 4,768 approximately kilometers squared. And of Tobago, the southwestern region is mainly of limestone. So when waves encroach that land, compared to the other areas of Tobago, which is made up of igneous rock, when the waves encroach that part of Tobago, it results in, or it will result in, deterioration. So therefore, it is important to indicate or important to pay particular attention to the seagrass beds in that area. Although there is the coral reef, however, the coral reef is currently dying due to coral bleaching. So previously, where the coral reefs would have been able to attenuate or dissipate, contribute to dissipation or attenuation of the waves, that isn't as effective as it would have been before. And also, there's also a dieback of the mangroves within the Bonaccord area. So right now, the Institute of Marine Affairs is looking into seagrass restoration in order to help prevent coastal flooding. And well, these are some of the references that we use in order to draw the conclusion today. Thank you.
Sí, muy interesante la presentación. Es un tema muy poco abordado y sin embargo particularmente importante en nuestras playas caribeñas. Una pregunta, no oí que mencionaras las algas calcáreas, las algas, por ejemplo, la alimeda, los grupos de algas alimeda. La importancia de que las algas funcionen disipando energía, como bien demuestras, tema poco, insisto, abordado, también debe incluir la preocupación en particular por estos grupos de algas calcáreas, que cuando estemos hablando de restauración de los pastos, por lo que significan las algas calcáreas para la producción de arena biogénica, uno de los componentes más importantes de las playas biogénicas que tenemos en el Caribe, son los restos esqueléticos de las algas calcáreas, particularmente la limeda, insisto. O sea, cuando estemos pensando en esta restauración, no solamente debemos estar pensando en la disipación de la energía, que es importantísimo, sino también en este otro tema. Bueno, me gustaría muchísimo que conversáramos sobre esto, porque pienso que desde el punto de vista de la investigación científica en el Caribe es un tema pendiente totalmente. Gracias.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting presentation. We're also working with seagrass relocation in various places, and we find it's still quite a complicated task to build seagrass in new places because it's very difficult to create the environments to survive for seagrasses. Have you got any intention in Trinidad and Tobago to, let's say, create new seagrass on different places? And if yes, we would love to talk to you about that to help you.
Okay, thank you. Currently, the Institute of Marine Affairs, they are working towards restoring seagrasses within the Bonaccord Lagoon. Right now, they have the idea of either replanting directly or using a wireframe to replant the seagrass beds within that area. But as previously stated, the area is influenced or affected by land pollution. So before they could even think about replanting these seagrass beds, I believe that they need to educate the population about the importance of seagrass beds, because then we'll be going right back through the same cycle again. And I'll go off track here a little bit. When I was coming here to Panama to present seagrass beds, I spoke to approximately 6 people. And of these 6 people, 5 of these persons were like, I'll say a little Tobago dialect here, "Awa that." That basically means, what are seagrass beds? And they were like, "Where that come from?" That basically means, where does seagrass beds come from? Where can you find them? So that goes to show that seagrass beds are here, but persons don't have the knowledge about seagrass beds. And if they continue the same process of not knowing about seagrass beds, then it wouldn't be any seagrass beds for their children or great-grandchildren to see within the future. So when it comes to coastal knowledge or social knowledge about this seagrass beds topic, we really have to do something about that, not just for the adults, but also for the children in school programs or something of the sort.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question, like an expert in this topic. What do you think about the mimics that are using to simulate the seagrass beds in some part of the world? What do you think about the mimics? Do you know what are the mimics?
No.
They are these kind of shapes made for plastic in order to simulate the seagrass bed, and they are using in some parts in order to try to repotentiate the functionality of the natural ones. What do you think about? If you know, of course.
No, I only know about these in flume experiments, so within a contained area just to get scientific information. But to replicate or mimic the actual seagrass beds in a working environment, I'm not sure about that. New research or further research needs to be done on that in order to understand it properly. Oh, no, I don't have any experiences that I could highlight about social acceptability, because and also it's a new experiment being done in Tobago. As I previously said, much people didn't know about seagrass beds, but we're actually working to bring awareness to the population about the seagrass beds. So hopefully next time I'll be able to answer this question.
Muchísimas gracias por la presentación. Muchísimas gracias por la presentación y creo que es fundamental hablar de los pastos marinos. Inclusive me llamaba la atención que en la traducción decían algas y los pastos marinos no son algas. Y eso refleja definitivamente lo que usted nos está planteando. Tenemos un desconocimiento no solo a nivel de la población, sino también a nivel de la comunidad científica sobre estos ecosistemas. Para el año 2020 y 2021 hicimos un análisis de los pastos marinos en Costa Rica y estudiamos la comunidad de epibiontes en las hojas de los pastos. Y uno de los elementos fundamentales que vimos es la presencia de muchas especies, algunas muy pequeñitas, pero que están aportando carbonato de calcio que forma estas arenas de las que hablaba el profesor Juanes. Entonces, mi consulta es cómo desde la restauración podemos dejar de pensar solo en el pasto como vegetación y más bien pensar en el pasto como una comunidad ecológica que aporta elementos de resiliencia para las playas arenosas.
Right. So I believe that through not past research, but we could present past research on the importance of, for example, the rhizomes and how they could, the rhizomes of the seagrass beds and how they could stabilize sediments apart from the wave attenuation and the wave dissipation, and how this could work alongside the seagrass beds in order to conserve the coast and the shorelines. I hope that answers your question.